what happened to Roush?
So I watched Biffle's episode on here, and he's got way more knowledge of, he was there way before I was. Mm-hmm. I feel like I came in 2008. It was massive. I couldn't believe how big the team was. We had, I think, 6 nationwide cars.
Oh, yeah. You had like 75 drivers.
ARCA car, 3 trucks, 5 Cup at the time. I was like, holy cow, this is unreal.
Right.
It's
a
and then
fleet.
Obviously it ended up, kind of dwindling a little bit. And some of that was manufacturer money, cutting the trucks out and, just focused on the Nationwide Series. But then when we switched to that new car in the Nationwide Series, I felt like is when my career took off, because we ran 4 races, I think, that year in 2010. I struggled at the beginning of 2010, went to work in the shop. Jack put me in the shop. I was there for 3 months, get there at 6:30, leave at 5:30, hour for lunch, hour to work out. And, so that was tough. But we turned our season around that year and came on strong at the end. But those 4 races that we ran with the new car were like, gave me and Mike confidence. Like, hey, when we went to the banquet in 2010 as Rookie of the Year, we were like, man, we're going to sit on that stage next year. Like, this is not fun sitting down here in the crowd for a banquet. And so, but we had confidence because every race that we ran, we were super fast with those cars. And so we won in 11 and 12, and everything was going great. Our Cup cars were fast. I think Carl tied for that championship in
that's right.
12?
Yeah.
Was that 12?
I don't remember the year.
Remember.
Yeah, I don't remember the year, but I remember. But
I think it was.
I remember
12.
the race.
Yeah, I think it was 12. He tied. Cup cars were great. Matt left, and we hadn't for sure said that if I was going to go Cup racing or not. Like I might have ran a 3rd year or 4th year of the Nationwide Series, but when he left, it was like, all right, hey, we're going to put you in. So, and I found out probably the day that they found out he was leaving. I think I found out I was going to race it. So, then I did that. And 13 wasn't terrible. I didn't feel like, but
In the Cup Series.
In the Cup Series. Like, we won a pole at Atlanta. Felt like we could have won a few races. Led 60 or so laps at Kansas. And, so like.
You had moments.
Had moments. Yeah. And then, let's see, Carl left. When did he leave? After 14? I don't remember.
God, was it that long ago?
Or 13. 13 or 14.
Because that was abrupt. That was just all of a sudden, at least for us, like for people
and so,
not on the inside. Like all of a sudden,
I think it was after 14 he left.
Wow, that's long ago.
But I was flying with him. We were flying to Richmond, or from Richmond. We flew to his house in Missouri, and then we flew to Utah. So we had a lot of time to chat. He's like, hey, I know you're probably locked in. At this time, I was locked in. My contract was through 2019, and that I signed in 07.
It's one of those Roush notoriously long contracts.
Yeah. I mean, it paid off well. I mean,
sure.
I didn't have anything else to do, so it worked out great. But he's like, man, this place is going down. He goes, I should have left last year, in 13. Matt beat me to it. And I guess he had an opportunity to maybe leave, but he ended up turning it down, and then Matt ended up taking it. And then I think he saw the success Matt had when he went over to Gibbs, and he's like, this place isn't where it once was, and I think it's pretty far from getting back to where it needs to be. And I was like, well, Carl, I'm here. And and then he left, and then so it was me and Greg and Trevor. So he rolled out, and we kept grinding away. And I think the best part on the Roush side for me was when Jimmy Finning kind of took over our speedway program, because at that point I felt like that's when I became a better speedway racer, because I had a car that was actually fast and could be on the offense versus the defense, or just trying to get a good finish. I was like, man, I can go win with these things. Yeah. And we obviously won in 17 both those races, but I felt like it was because Jimmy had taken over those speedway cars and like put a lot of focus in on like, hey, if we're gonna win, we got to win one of these, you know, and we kind of knew that. But also, I feel like there was a lot of expectations there that weren't realistic.
You signed a new contract in 19 to extend.
So, yeah, and I don't really remember how that timeline worked. So we won in 17, and then we did this, and maybe it was 19. We did this big sponsor, like, contract. Like, hey, the sponsors are, you know, Fifth Third, Fastenal, Sunny D through 2023.
Yep.
Are going to link it up because technically they had options on my contract. When I went to Cup early, like in my contract, they added a couple of years and they kind of shifted some pay around, and so they had options through 23. And when we did the big, you know, announcement, they were like, "Hey, you're going to be here through 23." But you know, that was my understanding of it, you know, because it was on their side to pick up. So 2019's going along and up and down, and then I get a call Monday night. I get a text, said, "Hey, can you comp meetings are on Tuesdays, and it's like, hey, can you come here tomorrow morning a little bit early before the comp meeting?" I'm like, "Sure, not a big deal." And then I had just signed with KHI, so Josh Jones texted me. He goes, "What meeting are you going to?" I was like, "Dude, I don't know."
And if you don't know, Josh,
I was like, they just asked me about it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." I was like, you know, they randomly would tell me stuff like that all the time. We'd just show up, do a little meeting, you know, roll with it. And he's like, "Well, all right, let me call him." So he calls him. He's like, "Hey, do I need to come?" And they're like, "It's not that big of a deal, just some contract stuff." I'm like, so Josh ends up coming.
of course.
And then we're sitting there, and so it was like Steve Newmark. Yeah, Jack wasn't in there. It was Steve Newmark, Kevin Kidd, Tommy Wheeler, and Josh was on that side of the table, and I was on this side of the table. And so when they were running through, you know, obviously, "Hey, we're going to let you go," I'm like, there was a lot of emotions going on in my head, but I was like, what is going on?
You had no idea that was going to happen.
Not one slight idea. Because I, again, thought I was through 23.
And this is in 2019.
Yes.
Right after you had just signed this new deal. Maybe later in the year.
They signed the sponsor deal. They acted like they picked up my options on my contract. Because my contract was already technically done. It was just options on their side.
Got it.
And so we never formally did anything, but they were like, "Hey, we're going to link the sponsors through your contract," and that was the kind of the way it was promoted, right? And so didn't really ever see it coming. Yeah. If Josh wasn't on that side of the table, I'd have probably turned it over. But luckily, he was on that side of the table, so I
so when you say there was emotions, you got angry.
Yeah, I didn't say a whole lot, and then I just walked out. And then I called Patty, and I'm like, "Hey."
Your crew chief.
Brian Patty.
I called him like, "Hey, man, you're gonna have somebody drive next year, not me." He goes, "Huh?" He didn't know. Nobody knew. Well, then he ended up not being there too. So.
Oh, his meeting was coming?
Yeah.
Yeah, his meeting came at some point.
Did he leave with you, or did they let him go as well?
There was people there that didn't like him as well.
I got you.
Yeah.
So maybe you didn't get it explained to you, but in hindsight, what happened? I mean, like, why?
I'm still not 100% sure.
Is that right?
I know they still had Buescher under contract.
They had Buescher under contract.
Like leasing to JTG, I guess. So I'm sure it was some cost savings.
Yeah.
Switching that out, you know, pretty quick. And, you know, little bits I hear, like there was a window maybe in his contract of the lease. Because when we left there, Josh called JTG. It's like, "Hey, you're not going to have a driver in there." I don't think they knew yet.
Josh called JTG because they didn't know.
We were looking for me a job ASAP.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
Chris,
who was
Buescher?
Buescher was driving
in the J.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a driver soon, JTG. That's right.
So
and you're going to need one.
Yeah.
How convenient, honestly.
It worked out.
I mean, that's
worked out great.
So
it was just
it's wacky,
wild.
man.
Yeah.
Let me I remember one thing that was really fascinating about that whole thing, and that was Kevin Harvick, a competitor of yours, but part owner of KHI, vocally talking in the media, standing up for you. How did that feel?
Super good.
Yeah.
Obviously, well respected. Now it's his last season, and
he really went to bat for you.
He did, and so I felt like Kevin and I have always had a really good relationship as far as like, when he had his team in the Nationwide Series, he raced a ton, and then he raced for you, and we battled hard on the racetrack, and we would get out and talk about it. I mean, he would run me so hard, but like, clean, and we got out and we'd, BS about it. And so I felt like we always had a really good relationship, and, ended up, when my management thing that I was at was done, I ended up switching over to them. And, I've always felt like, the way Kevin's always ran all of his, businesses, his career, the race teams, his management company, I feel like he's always done it, top notch, top level, and something I wanted to be a part of. And, I had not been with him very long, and then all of a sudden we're doing this, and it was like, sorry guys.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Kevin, he speaks what he feels like, and
He does.
He does.
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. What was your confidence at this point? You got picked up by this team pretty quickly, right? Like, so you didn't.
Yeah.
It's not like you went, months looking for a ride and wondering if you were ever going to get back. I mean, that part was removed. But
yeah, I had
fall at
with
Roush.
Josh, with Hank from Sunny D. Like, I had some really good people in my corner that were able to kind of help move all that along, and then obviously, my partner in Nos Energy Drink was able to go with me. Like, there was a lot of people that, kind of helped that transition, which was nice.
So are you saying it never allowed you to start to have doubts into your mind about where you are as a race car driver?
Yes and no. I mean, like I said, Josh was on the phone quick.
Yeah.
And y'all know Josh, super optimistic.
Yeah.
Like,
He built you up.
acting like no problem. We got this. So I feel like he probably helped keep me in a pretty decent place where I wasn't like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then, which was very beneficial. And then, then it was, then I went over to JTG. I'm like, once I, ended up signing, I'm like, they got a lot of stuff here.
That
Like,
was my
it was a
question.
totally.
That's my next question. So when you walked out of Roush and went to JGR, went to the 4017 JTG, what was your was it relief where you were like, oh, they got as much as we had?
Big relief.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because it was
I showed up and I'm like, because I had been with Roush my whole career.
never been in that shop.
I actually had been in that shop
you
one
had?
time. I did not know it, but at the time I didn't know it. When I ran for the Wood Brothers, they were in that shop, and then so when I walked in, I was like, I've been here before. But when I walked in there, like I didn't know. I mean, I know who Tad was, and obviously I know who Brad is, and but I didn't know like the whole core group, and I really didn't know that many other owners either, because like, I mean, I was in the Nationwide Series, again, not super talkative and kind of shy, and for the longest time, and then in the Cup stuff, like still I just kind of stuck to to our team, and so I didn't really know a ton about JTG, and so when I walked in, I was like, man, they got everything you need to race here. You know what I mean? Like, above and beyond what I had expected when I walked in. And so I was, kind of pumped up right off the bat. Like, hey, let's go do this, And then Patty came over with me, and then we sat on the pole at the 500 that year. I was like, here we go.
That's right.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Hey, if you like that video, like and comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss another piece of Dirty Mo Media content.